All right, Adam, we're ready. Should be recording. Can everyone hear me okay? Give me a wave if you can. Awesome. Yeah. So thank you for joining me today for the nutrition talk about how to lose weight. I'm Jamie, one of the nutrition coaches here at Primal Movement, and today I'm going to share with you how the best ways to lose weight and what the common issues are with that. All right. I'm going to jump over to Adam now, and he's going to introduce us. He's one of our other coaches and owner of Primal Movement, and he's going to go through our vision.
Okay, guys. First of all, welcome. Now, Jamie, you could probably help me out here. I haven't had chance. I've just finished coaching a session here at Primal Movement. How many members versus non-members do we have? Can anybody show me hands if they've got their camera on? Because I know people like to turn their camera off. If you're a non-member, you're not actually with us at Primal Movement. That would be great. Okay, cool. Gives me a good idea. So look, first and foremost, Jamie has very nicely introduced myself. I'm Adam, owner of Primal Movement. And look, our vision is to reduce chronic illness and disease in 8,000 people in a sustainable and measurable way. It says it on the screen. What we mean by that is we want to improve people's health, and we want to be able to work with people for as long as possible. We really do realize it's not forever, to actually give you the knowledge, the experience to actually make an impact on your health and be harder to kill, is what we call it. Live a longer and happier life. And doing these nutrition seminars is one platform to not only work with you, our wonderful members, but reach out to a bigger audience, be that friends, family, work colleagues, people you go to sports clubs with, any hobbies you have, to actually make an impact and a difference. And one of the most common subjects and themes that always comes up is, how do I lose weight? And what we mean by that is feel more confident, feel more happy, feel like we have energy, the ability to do more, feel more comfortable in our clothes, or go to that birthday party, holiday, and just be happy about how we feel and look. And that's what we're really going to dive into today. So Jamie, if you'd be ever so kind, because you've got host parameters, we're going to now have a look at some of the science and knowledge why it's difficult to lose weight, what happens when we're not in control of all of the things that we would ideally like to do. Jamie, I apologize, but I'm going to ask you to just click one at a time when I say. But what we're going to look at is going to be a sickness, wellness, fitness, and continuum. Now, what this continuum you see on the page represents is really health. And I'm open to people unmuting themselves here. We really do want this seminar to be as interactive as possible, or just post comments or questions in the chat on the Zoom. If we looked at sickness, wellness, and fitness as a measurement of health, because they really do mean the same thing, we could look at different markers that help us understand if we're moving in the right direction or not. Now, hands up if you've been to the doctors and had your blood pressure done. So, handful of people there. Cool. Now, would we agree that a blood pressure, and don't worry if you're not experienced in this area, of 200 over 110, where would we say that fits on that scale? Do we think it's fitness, wellness, or sickness? Okay, now I know that some of you are muted. So if we think it's fitness, hands up. If we think it's wellness, hands up. If we think it's sickness, hands up. Cool, good, makes sense. Now, I've just given you one example there of one marker, one metric that we typically use in the health and fitness industry. There are others too, and this is important to understand. So, Jamie, if you just press the button once, it should bring up, another twice. There we go, 2 more times. Perfect, okay. Here are 3 examples of some markers that we could use, but we could go further than this. Resting heart rate is what the second's referring to. Okay. Body fat, which is something we do measure with you guys, members at Primal Movement, is something that is a metric of where you would fit on this sickness, wellness, fitness continuum. Other things that we could consider and we could throw into the mix. What is your squat depth? What is your ability to do a push-up? What is your ability to pick a barbell off the floor? We've just done deadlifts today in our group session. If those numbers improve, it's an identifier of how your health is improving. And this is related to this seminar in the sense of how you can lose weight. So here are good 3 examples of probably a scenario of a sickness person, if we like. So if Jamie, you give me one more click. Blood pressure of 200 over 115. Believe it or not, I have seen this before, and that is almost off the chart, okay? Heart rate of 100 beats per minute, and I'm talking resting heart rate. Body fat percentage, depending on if you're male or female and what age you are, okay? But we'll just use the rule of thumb of kind of 30 to 40% upwards. That would definitely fit in the sickness category.
I can't hear you banging around anyway.
From there, we've got wellness. So if we could skip along. One more click, Jamie. Now we're looking at blood pressure coming down a little bit. 120 over 90. Resting heart rate is 70 beats. Body fat percentage, depending on, again, if you're male, female, what your age is, around 22 to 30%. Okay. And then if we look at the fitness continuum, and the reason we've introduced body fat percentage here is the more times you exercise, the more times you focus on your nutrition, generally we're going to see a movement in all of these metrics. Okay. Blood pressure now being over 110 over 60, heart rate resting around 50 beats per minute. That's pretty low. It can go lower and still be healthy. Body fat percentage of around 10 to 20%. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how we measure and how we can understand where our current health is at. Now, I'm sure you're all thinking about this and you're probably trying to decide where do you fit on that continuum, maybe where you'd like to be. And that's good. And we want to hear about it if you're coming to your next athlete check-in. Now, Jamie, if you could skip over to the next slide. What this leads into nicely is a bit of an understanding, just to finish off, why the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum is important. Most people's diet in the UK, when we look at their macronutrients, and I'm going to give a little bit of a background to why this is important and what macronutrients are. Macronutrients, if you're unsure, are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Just to give you a few examples, protein can be meat, dairy, fish, okay, can even be plant-based for those that are vegetarian, vegan. Carbohydrates, we kind of classify these as starchy and non-starchy. I'm sure if you remember with us, you've probably heard that terminology before. If you're not, starchy carbohydrates can be anything from sweets, sugar, chocolate, biscuits, the more processed ends of carbohydrate foods, even crisps. But then if we look at more whole foods, it can be rice, pasta, okay, as some examples. If we now start to look at what a non-starchy carbohydrate would classify as, then just think colorful vegetables that are naturally low in sugars, okay? Fats, this is nuts, seeds, oils, butters that are naturally occurring. Not when you go into a supermarket and it says low fat, when you're picking up a yogurt. A yogurt, because it's dairy, combination of fat and protein. Not all foods are normally just one or the other. Some do cross over. But in simple terms, that's your macronutrients. Now, the reason we've got this chart on the table is because when we're not focused on our food, when we're not paying attention, if we're stressed out, we're sleep deprived, typically this is what we see. And all of our supermarkets, unfortunately, are mainly geared up to make sure you buy and eat like this. 20% protein, 60% carbohydrates, 20% fat. The unfortunate thing about this scenario, when we eat our meals and snacks in this balance of macronutrients, is it leads to weight gain, it leads to cravings, it leads to sleep deprivation. All health markers go backwards. Jamie, if you could hit the slide for me. Now, this is the best I could do, guys. I apologize. I did this in the office earlier, took a screenshot and then posted it onto the slide. But what I want to represent to you here is what that macronutrient intake does to your body and why you can struggle to lose weight. When we overconsume in carbohydrates, especially more sugar, more processed foods, because that was the obvious one that was higher than the rest, this is what will happen in your blood sugar. So what this represents on the graph is, if you have a look at that middle line that goes from left to right, your blood glucose optimum level. Now, that's important for one reason, because your body is always trying to keep your blood glucose in a stable level. When we eat, as you can see, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, Generally, that's when we're hungry, more often than not. Not always the case. I understand that. But what it does is when we consume carbohydrates, especially 60%, if that's how we're eating, it really spikes our blood glucose. And all of that time, if you look at the waves that are above the optimum blood glucose line, means that our body has excess glucose, sugar in its bloodstream. Now, our body doesn't like it. One, it gives you a bit of energy instantly, but it wants to organize and sort that into what is a sustainable way for it to carry on. So insulin is secreted into the body, and its role is basically to store it. And unfortunately, it doesn't just put it into the muscles. It doesn't use it as energy there and then. It stores it as body fat. And this is where most people don't understand why they can't lose weight. If we have more carbohydrates, if we're eating more sugar, this is the kind of scenario that goes on in our body every day. Click on one slide if you could, Jamie. Now, if we can change the balance of our macronutrients, and this might not be the right place for you to start as an individual, we want to see this as a balanced view. 30% protein, 40% carbs, 30% fats. If we flick on one more, this is the impact on our blood glucose levels. Now you can see there's a minimal amount of insulin levels being secreted into the blood. That's great because it means that our body is not in storage mode. We're not taking on excess body fat as a way of dealing with that excess blood sugar. This is the way we need to be. And what we're going to now dive into as we move forwards is how we can do that, what sustainable approach to moving forwards, and carrying on. Now, look, that's a lot of information. I apologize because the coaching team and the members know I like to talk. Is there any questions at this point that doesn't make sense? Because I think it's important that we address it. Please feel free to unmute yourself, post a question in the chat. I don't want this seminar to just be us talking at you 100%. Hands up, just so because I can see on the screen who's partaking in this seminar. If you feel at times that your slide one, more carbohydrates, probably over 40%. Cool. Now, look, that's the most obvious place for us to really focus our time and attention. And what Jamie's going to do now, I'm going to hand it over to him, is talk about what is the key ingredient, what is the fastest way to get there. And he's got a little surprise for you. Over to you, Jamie.
You made it a bit daunting now. It's not going to be an overwhelming surprise. Thanks for that. I've gone for a crazy little graph here. And kind of trying to explain and get rid of some myths out of heads that we kind of see all the time and misinformation. Basically, most personal trainers, fitness instructors don't want you to know this little snippet of information, the big secret. Because if we can keep you away from knowing what that secret is, by giving you a method and not telling you why we're doing that, we're just going to say, use the ultimate method that I spelt brilliantly badly in that slide, or use this method, use super method, use a method, use this fad, use this diet, use this method, use my way, or go the highway. You're not going to do what you want to do, then you will fail and not be able to succeed. So the big secret that I'm going to give you away now, no other personal trainer and fitness instructor wants you to know, is this. Boom. What you need to do to lose weight is be in a calorie deficit. What I mean by that is eating less than you burn on a daily basis. So as simple as that. If you can eat a little bit less than what you burn on a daily basis, guess what? You're going to lose body fat. You're going to manage that insulin level that Adam's already spoken about and see success in terms of losing body fat. But the problem with this really good bit of information is it's simple, but it's not easy. All things that are simple are never easy. I can tell you that now. If I said we're going to all be healthy, it's simple, isn't it? But it's not. There's loads of little steps and methods that we can use to help that. We're going to now look at the fundamental first simple steps to get you to that thing. It's something called the nutritional pyramid or priority pyramid. All right. Oh, went too far. There it is. So we always want to start at the base of a pyramid. If we started at the top, we wouldn't finish a pyramid, or it'd be a very tiny little pyramid. So we want to look at the bottom. calories in versus calories out. That's the secret that I've just discussed. And if we can get that understood and get a knowledge behind that, then we can succeed. But the problem is, most of us, I can tell you now, I'm going to ask for hands up on this one. Do you know how many calories you burn on a daily basis? Can you give me an accurate number between calories in terms of how much you think you burn? Does anyone have an actual number of how much they think it is? Type it in the chat. Hands up. I burn 5 calories a day because I sit down all day. I just put 15,000 calories. Adam, you're not that fit. You're not running 24 hours a day. That's a lot of calories. But most of us here, 1,500 calories, 2,000 calories, somewhere around that marker. That's not necessarily true, especially if you exercise, you have an active job. I know for a postman, it's closer to 3,000 calories a day. I know for an office worker, it can be around 1,500. There's loads of different things. We need to find out what that is. And the only way to do that is by using some methods that we're going to learn down the line. But we need to learn where calories in versus calories out look like, how much we're burning, how much we're actually taking in. Once we get that understanding of that, we can move on to the next step, which is what Adam's already kind of touched on, is looking at your macro splits. So he's discussed a couple of variations of a bad looking split to a good looking split of 30, 40, 30, as he's discussed. If we can get our heads around that one after we know our calories, then we can then start looking up the chain and building that pyramid up and getting even stronger and looking at our vitamins and minerals. When I was typing my notes up for this one earlier, I put looking at your victims and minerals, and I realized that wasn't right either. All right. So that's the next one, looking at your vitamin minerals. That's important as well, because that gives you energy, makes you healthier, looks after your cells, your brain, your organs. After that, we look up, and most people start focusing on these two a bit too prematurely in many cases. We look at when should we eat? What time should we eat? How often should we eat? How many meals a day? Those sort of things get asked a lot more than how many calories do I consume a day? Let's work it out. If we look at those two, then the next one up is even further, that tiny little one, adding supplements to your diet. So protein powders, different things that if we don't have the other things, won't necessarily help us. They might even hinder us. So we've got to look at the base and build ourselves up. Supplements are there to supplement your diet. There's no other word for it. That's why they're called that. So if you can get one, then you can go on to level 2. If you can get level 2, go on to level 3. And that's what we're trying to look and build over time. All right. Next thing we're going to look at is the pillar of health. And that's over time.
Jamie, just go back 1 second. Jamie's made a very, very big point, and I just want to reiterate this in like the 10 to 15 years experience I've had in the industry now. Most people do not need to go above macros. And Jamie would agree with this. If you generally just want to feel confident, lose some body fat, maintain muscle mass, feel stronger, happier in general, focus on your calories. We can help with that. Eventually start to dial in those macronutrients and have an understanding of what that looks like and the tools and methods to do it. You will be fine. The other areas are not going to make a major impact on you losing weight. It's the bottom 2 that have the biggest impact if we're looking at that question, which this whole seminar is around, on how should I lose weight, and start with number 1, like Jamie said. So sorry, Jamie, I just thought I'd add that in because I think people can be overwhelmed by the amount of information and what you need to focus on, and cut the crap out, just focus on the basics.
It's all around that marketing thing that we've discussed before in seminars, that we want to keep that secret away from you. It's look at what you eat and what you exercise, and is that matching up, or is it slightly lower so you can lose weight? It's that simple. And we're now going to look at pillars of health and the overall picture of that.
Cool. You guys get to listen to me again. Wonderful. Right. So pillars of health, what do we mean? These are areas that we typically look at when we're working with a nutrition client. What we really want to understand from a holistic view is what's preventing you from getting closer to where you want to be. If that's losing body fat, maintaining muscle mass, feel more confident, i.e. lose weight, then we want to assess, are any of these pillars holding you back? Some people really want to dive in on what we've just talked about first and foremost, But actually, before we get to what should you focus on with your nutrition, we need to figure out if there's a bigger problem in line first. So Jamie, it's just one at a time if you could. I'll tell you when to stop. The first one we normally talk about, because it's actually quite important, go for it, give it a click. Okay, is the top 5 people you spend time with. Now, look, we're not going to go for an exercise right now where I get you to write down who you spend the most time with, but I want you to just take a second to think about it. This is typically family or work colleagues. And then you really need to think about who those top 5 people are. And you can write it down on a bit of paper. But next to those, you also want to write down if they have positive or negative influences when it comes to lifestyle choices, be that exercise, nutrition, sleep, alcohol, the list goes on. Doing that exercise might surprise you. And that's one of the things that we consider when we're working with a client. Next one, Jamie. This one, I can't tell you enough. There isn't a pyramid to demonstrate this, but when we look at humans' natural needs, this sits at the base of the pyramid. If you are sleep deprived, hands up if you're feeling a little bit tired today. Okay, I definitely was.
Yep.
You make poor choices, full stop. Okay, it is harder to make good quality choices when you are sleep deprived. So if you're sleep deprived, in your body, leptin levels increase. Okay, this is a chemical hormone that makes choices when it comes to food harder because that basically spikes cravings. So now you can understand why when we're sleep deprived, tired, it's really hard to focus on good quality wholesome foods, because what do we crave when we're at the garage? There's the £1 minstrels. That's my favorite, by the way. I'm just giving it away. Okay,
Jaffa cakes.
Yeah, Jamie's is Jaffa cakes. All right, but the point is sleep needs to be in order. And if it's not, before we even get to calories, before we even get to macros, we need to isolate that. We need to deal with it, because otherwise you're just not going to be able to be successful moving forwards. Next one, Jamie. Stress. Now, I'll be honest, owning a business, that's probably one of my biggest problems. Now, I'm sure you can see days when I'm stressed, even as members. Hopefully I don't show it too much, but it makes a big impact on our choices. Okay. It does kick in cravings. You make poor decisions again, just like the sleep scenario. Next one, Jamie. Movement, which you guys, originally probably all came to us for. Exercise. That's the key to my success and losing, weight moving forwards. Unfortunately, we're here to tell you it's not just that. Nutrition is important as well as all these other health pillars. Moving on, routine. Okay, and what we mean by that, it will come up, Jamie, hopefully. If not, we'll just imagine it's there.
Yeah, he's coming.
Okay,
I just lost my mouse power. There we go.
I think it's because it just got a notification for 10 minutes. All right. So at this point, we're just going to give you some pointers that if you feel, okay, I was going to do an exercise at this point, guys. Rate yourself 1 to 10 on each one, 10 being good, 1 being crap about each of these areas. I want you to just have a quick think for 10 seconds. Which one do you feel is the one that you're lacking in the most? Okay. Park that in your memory for a second. These are some of the solutions, just some, if you bring it up, Jamie, to how, okay, we could deal with those now. So I want you to just have a quick look at the one that you thought that you were struggling with. If you're a member, this is how we're going to play this out. I want you to come and have a chat with one of the coaches. Tell us which one you were struggling with the most. Come and book in an athlete check-in slightly earlier if it's a little bit further away. And let's actually come up with a plan to deal with that for you. That's what we're here to do, okay? But what we're trying to highlight here is if you want to deal with calories, if you want to deal with macronutrients, you cannot have one of these really suffering, because you just won't have the headspace or the energy to focus on the most basic of things with your nutrition. Okay, we can move on, Jamie.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about 4 things, if we've got those pillars holding us up, 4 things that we can look at, methods that we really recommend to change that big secret into an easy success. One is the hand method. You might have seen that, using your hands to guide you with food portions, and we can discuss this further later on. The second one is MyFitnessPal. This is the best method for finding out your calories that you consume on a daily basis and then building from there. And then we've also got plate method, which you've all seen it in the office if you are a member. Plate method, half a plate of non-starchy vegetables like Adam's discussed already. and building from there. And then the last but not least is intermittent fasting, when we're looking at not eating for a certain period of window and then having a window of eating fully. And all of these methods, the whole point behind them and this big secret that we've keep hidden from you is we want to be in a deficit of about 100 to 300 calories per day to keep that weight loss being progressive and steady over time. We don't want to be thousands of calories under. All right. So the last bit is the missing ingredient to these 4 steps, and that is us. The accountability factor, the support, the regular meetings, the consistent support through the app, making sure we're staying on track, having someone there to help you that knows what they're doing. Me and Adam have been doing this for a while now, and we know what works, what doesn't, and we want to keep it simple, make you successful. There's no secret ingredient on the web or in your cupboard like that guy's looking for that's going to change your life overnight. So definitely look at booking in for a free intro about nutrition, or in the next 4 days it starts, I think, is our nutrition kickstart. 28 days of us focusing on you and getting you towards your nutritional goals, giving you that support, those lists below, where we can actually help you achieve a little bit towards your long-term goal. We're not going to change you overnight, but steady steps with one of those methods, we're going to see success. So I've just put in the link, a link in the chat, let's say it the right way around, of the sign up for that. We've got a couple of spaces left. I think there's only 2 left available now. So definitely, if you are interested, click that link now and you can fill out and book it in, and I'll send you the details afterwards. And I'm just going to go through one of our success stories, because to be honest, she needs a massive shout out because she's dominated her nutrition and fitness for the last 6 months, and that is our member Lisa. She's been a huge successful nutrition client, along with exercising regularly and following simple but highly effective steps. She's seen incredible changes. She has lost 16.5 pounds of body fat, crazy amounts of weight in terms of just body fat. That's technically 2 newborn babies and 2 bags of sugar's worth of weight. 2 babies, that's twins of baby weight gone. I wanted to find something that's a bit extreme. I've never had 2 babies in my hands, but that feels heavy in my head anyway. So yeah, definitely look at kicking that and seeing that results. The other biggest things is she actually gains at least, I think it was 5 kilos worth of muscle mass, as well as losing that amount of actual body fat. So she's got stronger, she's feeling more confident, and her body shape has completely changed. I think it was over 3 centimeters worth through her middle alone, not even her limbs. So massive changes from just following simple steps and looking at her macros, calories in versus calories out, and making steps to make that successful and possible for her, as well as making those pillars be up so we don't fall on the pillows. That's the right way around. All right. Got anything else to add, Adam? If not, anyone got any questions?
I want to give plenty of opportunity for people to probably ask questions about the models. How do they implement them? I know we've got a good 4 minutes left on the seminar. If you are generally not sure where to start, come and chat to one of us if you remember. If not, Jamie, I'm sure, whilst I'm answering questions, can post a link below the latest link on how to do that.
Yeah.
But guys, I'm going to open the floor up at this point. Hopefully you've got an understanding of why we should do it, the impacts of it, and how to take steps forwards. But it is, in summary, make sure your pillars of health are in place first. Figure out which one's not, will help you deal with it. Then we can start to deal with being in a calorie deficit. And then once you nail that, then we can start to balance those macronutrients. That's what you need to be doing right now if you generally want to lose body fat, maintain muscle mass, and keep improving your health. So any questions from anybody about how do they move forward from here? We've got 3 minutes. Fire away. Now, whilst people are probably waiting to post questions, feel free to unmute yourself or chuck it in the chat. Jamie, give an example of where Lisa started in her nutrition journey with you, and how long has she been working with you? Because I don't think people probably understand the length of journey to get those results.
Yeah, so she started 6 months ago, so that takes us pretty much to the end of January. She started off with the exercise. That was her main focus. Even from a nutritional point of view, it was let's get exercising regularly. What we discovered quite quickly from that point was her sleep wasn't great, so we brought that back, brought that pillar into structure, and then from there we looked at actually adding and then started looking at the calories. But we only did that by looking at plate method and measuring that via talking to me, sending me photos of meals so I could get a good understanding of where she was at. And then from there, we started adding other habits to make those changes from being slightly above to being based around being at the right level and then slightly dropping it. And over time, she's got to the point now that she is looking at macronutrients and following that using MyFitnessPal to make sure she's in that 100 to 300 calorie deficit.
Now, we've got a question here, Jamie. I think that's a great example of how someone's been for that journey. Everybody's journey is different, by the way, and everybody that starts out in nutrition coaching will get to ask the coach questions, but also we have like a initial consultation. And with this particular nutrition kickstart, we've got a group introduction and opportunity to ask those questions. But one's about, could the nutrition kickstart be about sleep, stress, focus more than food? The answer is 100%. Because if we don't have those pillars in place, guess what? We're not going to go on to the next level and start considering calories and macros because it will overwhelm you. So we can focus on those sleep and stress. This is where Jamie actually really is experienced. He spent a lot of time dealing with a bit more of a mindset, routine, habit building, and he could help with that. We won't go into any more.
All I'll say is I'm from Totnes.
Jamie, I don't know what people think about that, but
well, it's very mindful, isn't it? Over there?
It is mindful. Cool. Any more questions? We've got less than a minute on the books, and I think I know how Zoom operates now. It wants to kick you out once it finishes. So look, I think I'll finish this one off, Jamie, if you don't mind. But it is just thank you for attending. We really do encourage attendance because it means you can ask questions, put your hand up. We encourage it massively because if you don't ask, we can't help. Okay, we're not mind readers. Please sign up to the future ones if they're of interest to you. Come and grab us at the gym, and you will get a recording of this if you want to watch it back. But thanks from me. Thank you to everybody else, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.